first unit, which is the introduction to data science and big data. So this says about the introductory part of a data science. What we will be covering is the basic and need of a data science and big data, applications of a data science, data explosion, 5 V's of big data, relationship between data science and information science, business intelligence versus data science, then data science life cycle. After this introductory part, we move to the data. So data types, data collection, need of data wrangling, and then methods of data wrangling, data cleaning, data integration, data reduction, data transformation, and data discretizations. This is all what we will be looking into the unit 1 of this introduction to data science and big data subject. Okay. So the first part, we must know like what is the purpose of the data, correct? So what does it say is the principal purpose of the data science is to find the patterns within data. It uses various statistical techniques to analyze and draw insights from the data. From data extraction, wrangling, pre-processing, a data scientist scrutinize the complete data, and it reads the data very thoroughly. So the responsibility of a data scientist is to make the predictions from the data, and the main goal of the data scientist is to derive conclusions from the data. So through these conclusions, the data scientist will be able to assist the companies in making the smarter business decisions. So we can see over here in the image also that the data analysis and processing consisting of extracting the data and generating insights from the data. So this is how the data scientist plays important role for analyzing the data. Now, why the data matters to us, correct? Philosophically, we can say that the data is a new electricity. So we are living in the age of fourth industrial revolution. So this is the era of artificial intelligence and big data, as all of you know. So for artificial intelligence and the field of big data, what we require is a data, and that is the reason data matters to us. So there is a massive data explosion that has resulted in the culmination of new technologies and the smarter products as well. In general science, around 2 hexabytes of data is created every day. So the need for the data uh, like has risen tremendously in last decade. So many companies have centered their business on the data, as we all know. So data has data itself has created a new sector in IT industry. We all know about this, that we have the sector of data science, we have the big data analytics sector, we have the sector of machine learning. So these are all new sectors which are involved from the data only. But still we should know like why do we need a data, or why do we need industries to process this data, and why data is so much precious for all of us. So data science is a very recent terminology. This before data science, we had the statistics. So these statisticians, they experience in the qualitative analysis of a data, and then what happens that companies has employed them to analyze their overall performances and sales. But with the advent of this computing process, the cloud storage and analytical tools and the field of computer science also get merged with this statistics. And then this all together has given a birth to this data science term. I hope you understood again that initially we had this statisticians. What these statisticians used to do, they will perform some experiments on the data and will do the qualitative analysis of a data, and then company will analyze their analysis or make the conclusions, and through which the overall performances and the sales of the company is improved. But after this, many technologies has boomed, and we have the large computing processing power, we have cloud storage, we have the analytical tools. So these all field of computer science also merged with the statistics, and then we had this data science. So early data analytics was based on the surveying and finding solutions to public problems. For example, a survey regarding a number of children in a district would lead to decision of development of schools in that area. Or with the help of a computers, the decision making process has also again been simplified. So as a result, computer could solve more complex statistical problems also. So it is very important to know that like which are the different products which are getting affected due to this analytics, data analytics. And then what we have found is everywhere the data has impacted in our daily life. And if we try to analyze this data properly, we will be getting a more fruitful life or more comfortable life or more simpler life also. And this is why the data is very important, and this is why data matters to all of us. Now let's see, and let us know now. We have understood like why data matters to us, but then why data science is important. Correct. Again, we can term that data creates a magic. Right? I hope you all also agree with me that data creates a magic. So industries need data to help them make many of the decisions. This data science churns raw data and then it turns it into the meaningful insights. It turns into the wisdom. It turns into the knowledge. Therefore, this industry needs data science. The data scientist, we can call them as a wizard. The one who knows how to create a magic using data. Fine. So these data scientists are also known as a wizards, correct? A skilled data scientist will know how to dig out the meaningful information with whatever data he has come across. He helps the company in the right direction. The company requires a strong data-driven decisions at which he is an expert. So this is why the data science is also important. The data scientist is an expert in various underlying fields of the statistics and computer science. And what does he do? He uses his analytical aptitude to solve the business problems. And thus, data science is very much important for all of us. Now, let's see the application of data science. As we have seen that company needs a data. This data is very huge in amount, and we have a high computing power to process the data. We have the high storage capacity to store the data. But the important part is we need a scientific tools also to analyze the data, and there where the data science comes in the picture. So company needs the data and they need it for their data-driven decision models and creating better customer experiences. So we'll see like which specific areas that these companies focuses on in order to make the smarter data-driven decisions. So the data science is for the better marketing. Data science can be for customer acquisition, data science for innovation, data science for enriching life. So let's see one by one. So why we say that the data science for the better marketing? These companies are using data to analyze their marketing strategies and create better advertisements. Many times, business spend an astronomical amount on marketing their products. These many at times not yield expected results as well. So therefore, by studying and analyzing customer feedback, companies are able to create better advertisements as well. So the companies do so by carefully analyzing customer behavior online and also by monitoring customer trends, help the company to get more market insights, which will make them for more business. And therefore, we say that business need data scientists to assist them in making strong decisions with regard to marketing campaigns and advertisements. And thus, data science plays important role for better marketing. The next, what we have said, the data science for customer acquisition. This data scientist, they help the company to acquire customers by analyzing their needs. This allows company to tailor a product best suited for the requirements of their potential customers, right? So in this case, data holds the key for companies to understand their clients very well, and thus data science is used for customer acquisitions. The customer liking, the customer's interest is very much analyzed with the customer's behavior throughout the time. And how does we get the customer behavior? By collecting the data related to customer. And therefore, the purpose of data scientists here is to enable companies to recognize the clients and help them deliver the needs of their customers. This is where the data science helps for the customer acquisition. The next we have is the data science for the innovations and research. This is very much important because when we research, when we innovate, we get multiple products and which facilitates our life very well. So companies create their innovations with an abundance of data. These data scientists aid in a product innovation by analyzing, creating insights within the conventional designs. These data scientists, what they do is they generally analyze the customer reviews and then they help the companies craft a product that sits perfectly with the review and feedback of the customer. So using the data from the customer feedback, the companies make decisions and take proper action in the right direction. And this is how the data science is helping in the field of innovation. So lastly, what we say, as I said, that data science has made our life more simplified or more simpler. So data science for enriching our lives as well. The customer data is a key to making their lives better. Take an example, healthcare industries. So these healthcare industries uses the data available to them to assist their customers in everyday life, correct? So data scientists in this type of industries have a purpose of analyzing the personal data, history of the health history of the person, then create products that tackle the problems faced by the customers. So with this, what we can say that data centric companies, it is clear that each company uses the data differently and each company uses the data for making the life more simpler, for making the life more fruitful for their customers and for growing their own business as well. Correct? So these are the different applications of data science. Now, what is this data explosion? And why this data explosion has happened, correct? See, this now current world is using like everywhere we have this electronic space. Everyone using the electronic devices. The processing power, RAM speeds, hard disk sizes, they have increased so much up to such a high level that it has changed our viewpoint towards the data and its storage. Now you tell me, suppose, like you just imagine, suppose you had just 256 or 512 MB of RAM in your PC. Will it help for you? No, not of course, correct? So on this off chance that we comprehend idea of a byte, we can envision how data growth has expanded over the time. How the storage systems are handling this data. Now, as we all know, okay, 1 byte is equivalent to 8 bits, and these 8 bits can represent a character or expression, just a single character or expression. An archive with huge number of bytes will contain huge number of characters, expressions, and the spaces. Similarly, megabytes is a million bytes of information, gigabytes is a billion bytes of information, terabyte is a trillion bytes of information. So we use these all terms for managing data and storage in our everyday activities. After this megabyte, gigabytes, we have this petabytes, we have exabyte, zettabyte, yottabytes. What is this yottabyte? Yottabyte is basically a trillion terabytes of information. So imagine how much space it will take, how huge space it must require to store this yottabyte of a data. Fine. So what does it say? This rapid or exponential increase in amount of a data that is generated and stored in the computing systems, that reaches the level where data management becomes difficult and is called as a data explosion. So currently there is a data explosion, and we need to handle this data explosion using multiple techniques. Right. So what are the different drivers which has given the huge growth of a data? So different drives are like increase in the storage capacity. We have the cheaper storage, then increase in the data processing capabilities by modern computing devices, data generated and made available by different sectors. So these are all giving the way of explosion of this data. I hope you understood why there is a data explosion and which are the different key factors who push for this data explosion. Fine. And now we will see an important term. The important term is 5 V's of a data. So let's look quickly at what are these 5 V's of a data. Fine. So let's move ahead and see what is this 5 V's. So 5 V's are basically velocity, volume, value, variety, and veracity. Fine. So let's take the example one by one. So before that, let's see why these 5 V's has come in a picture. Correct? See, one of the greatest innovation of a technological age is ability for individuals and business to collect the large amount of data about themselves and the organization. Now, this data can be as simple as the number of active visitors to the site or to the hospital, or it can be very much complex like multiple IoT sensors tracking the supply chain of the product line in any of the mechanical industry. So like this, the variety of data is available. There are 5 characteristics of big data known as 5 V's, which has helped in understanding the big data term. This big data can be defined as a data that is so large that it cannot be processed using the conventional methods. The actual amount of a data that constitutes the big data is undefined and growing each year as the computational power and data analytics become cheaper and more accessible. Right? So this big data is collected by a variety of mechanisms using software, sensors, IoT devices, or any other hardware, and usually feed into the data analytics software such as a SAP, Tableau, etc. So what are these 5 V's of a big data? So let's see these 5 V's one by one. So first we have the velocity. The velocity is the speed at which the big data is collected. The speed tends to increase every year as a network technology and hardware becomes more powerful and allows the business to capture more data points simultaneously. The example for this velocity is like Google receives over 63,000 searches per second on any day. So imagine how much with how much speed this data is getting generated. The next V is volume. The volume refers to the amount of a data being collected. Now, this is where the big data largely gets its name due to the sheer size of a data being collected. The actual size will vary based on the data being collected. Now, for example, the user analytics of the Netflix database will be astronomical compared to the e-commerce data for the small business. but both could be considered big data as it is a large amount of data which is being collected. Now take an example that Netflix has over 86 million members globally, streaming over 125 million hours of content per day. So imagine how huge amount of data or what voluminous data is getting generated in the data warehouse of this Netflix. It must be over the 60 petabytes in the size, right? So such a huge volume of data is getting collected every day by Netflix. Just an example. The next V of a day related to data is a value. Now, what does the value mean? Value mean a worth of a data being collected. Now, some big data that a business stores may have the little or no value in the decision making or in the improving operations. A company may be required for compliance reasons to capture and store a large sum of data which has no value actually. But as a data scientist or as a big data analyst, what we must know how to derive a value from a data. This big data that is voluntarily collected, a business should review exactly what data is being collected and how it can be valuable to the business. So if the data has no value now or in the near future, it may be just discarded or you may stop collecting that data. So data that has no value can often serve as a distraction and only hinder the data analysis process. So example for this valuable data is customer lifetime value, average order value, cancellation rate. And we can go for a few examples of data which has no value is a data with a missing or corrupt values or data missing key structure elements such as a customer preferences and all. So this is what is the value of a data. Okay, and then we'll move variety. So variety is a different types of data which is getting captured, as we have already said. We have seen the types like unstructured data, structured data, and semi-structured data, correct? So unstructured data example is the review sentiment, then free form comments, etc. Structured data, we have the email address, phone number, or say the employee table which we have seen. So like this, we have the structured data also, correct? Now let's move ahead and see the last V of a data, which is a veracity. Now, what is this veracity? The veracity is the quality or trustworthiness of the data. Please remember the terms. It's a quality or trustworthiness of data. So there is a little point to collecting a big data if you are not confident that the resulting analysis can be trusted. Right? So the veracity is a quality or trustworthiness of the data. For example, if you are piping all order data in, but also including the fraudulent or the cancelled orders, you can't trust the analysis of e-commerce conversion rate because it will be artificially inflated. Correct? So this is my veracity of a data, the last V of a big data.